Hey guys, tonight we start in the place you never quite leave and never quite remember. Not sleep, not dream. That strange middle state where your body lies still, but your mind keeps walking backwards, sideways, upward into something that smells a bit like smoke and sounds like a whisper you've heard before but can't quite place. You're not in your bed anymore, you're standing barefoot on a floor that isn't cold but reminds you of cold. Beneath your feet, a thin mist coils and twists like breath in winter air. Around you, nothing. Above you, everything. And somewhere in front of you, someone's watching. Then you hear it. A voice low and worn and tired in the way mountains get tired after holding up the sky too long. You're late. You turn. Odin is already there. No dramatic entrance, no storm, just presence. He's seated on a stone that may be a throne or maybe a tree stump. It's hard to tell in this fog. His single eye watches you like a forgotten promise, soft but sharp enough to cut if you lean in too close. You're going to take him, he says. You blink. Him. He nods toward the shadows. A shape steps forward. It moves soundlessly. It shouldn't move soundlessly, because it has 8 legs. 8. Sleipnir. Gray like storm clouds that never cried, eyes dark wide and utterly unreadable. There's a stillness to the horse that feels less like calm and more like anticipation. He doesn't snort. He doesn't stomp. He simply exists like gravity, neither cruel nor kind, but impossible to ignore. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, where are you listening from? Drop your location and the local time in the comments. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You take a hesitant step towards Sleipnir. He doesn't move. You take another. Still nothing. But then Odin speaks again, voice like the hinge of a gate long closed. He won't follow, he won't lead. He only goes with those who are honest. You freeze. I'm not a liar. Everyone says that Odin mutters rising slowly until they meet the part of themselves that remembers differently. He reaches behind him and pulls out something wrapped in linen. A small trembling object wrapped tight. You expect it to be heavy when he hands it to you. It isn't. But it feels heavy. Emotionally dense, like it's soaked in the weight of forgotten choices. Bring this to the tree, Odin says. What tree you'll know? That's all he offers. You look at Sleipnir again. He looks at you, and in that look you feel something strange. Permission. You climb on. No saddle, no reins. Just you and this impossibly quiet creature, and a package you didn't ask for. Sleipnir begins to walk. Not forward. Not backward, but inward. The space around you blurs not like motion blur, but like a memory trying to rewrite itself. You don't feel like you're moving through the world. You feel like the world is moving through you. Mainstream Stoic principle number 1. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Tonight, you ride into the obstacle and discover it's shaped like your own reflection. The fog thickens, then opens, and now for the first time you see it. In the distance, something vast, not tall, not wide, deep. A tree, but not just any tree. The base of Yggdrasil, the world tree. Odin's voice echoes once more, though he is nowhere in sight. Bring it to the roots, why you whisper, but he doesn't answer. Sleipnir does, with one subtle nod, and keeps walking. Fringe myth detail number 1. Some scattered Nordic poems claim Sleipnir can travel not only through the 9 realms, but through time, regret, and even decision. That he walks not between places, but between possibilities. And tonight, you're riding toward one. You grip the package tighter. Whatever it is, it's humming now. Not out loud, inside your chest. A frequency too familiar. And suddenly you know this journey isn't about what Odin lost. It's about what you locked away. And Sleipnir. He's not just a horse. He's your way back in. Sleipnir's hooves strike the ground in perfect silence. Not because the ground is soft, but because the noise stays behind. You ride through a quiet that doesn't simply hush sound, it absorbs it. Every heartbeat, every breath, every half-formed thought gets swallowed into the stillness. The world is darker here. Not dangerous, just deliberate. Each step Sleipnir takes feels like a sentence finishing inside your mind, and even though no one speaks, you begin to understand something essential. This is not a path of direction, it's a path of recognition. You glance down at the bundle Odin gave you, it pulses faintly now like it has its own breath. You whisper, "What are you?" But the package doesn't answer. Of course it doesn't. Sleipnir veers slightly to the left, and without realizing it, you enter a space that's not marked by walls or lines, but by memory. Not your memory. Collective memory. The weight of all the things people refuse to carry. The echoes of everything whispered too late. Ahead, a city appears. Half-built. Not ruined, unfinished. Stone staircases spiral into the sky without connecting to anything. Windows blink with images of people staring back at you only to vanish when you look twice. Lanterns hang from invisible ceilings, flickering with shadows of conversations that were never had. You dismount. Not because you want to, but because Sleipnir stops. And when Sleipnir stops, it means there's something you need to see on foot. The first road feels familiar. Your boots click softly on cobblestone that breathes, yes, breathes. Each step releases a memory into the air. Someone calls your name, not angrily, not sweetly, just honestly. You turn, no one. But a door opens. You step inside. It's your room, or a version of it frozen at a time when you still believed everything could be fixed by trying hard enough. Your old coat hangs on the chair, the one you wore on that day you swore you wouldn't cry, even though you did. You sit and you wait, because something's coming. A knock. Not on the door, on your mind. A presence enters. Familiar, heavy. You look up. And there, across from you, sits a version of yourself you didn't know still existed. The one who carried the guilt. The one who never let go. Their eyes meet yours. They don't look angry. They look tired. You say nothing. They say nothing. But in the silence between you, a truth uncoils. You don't have to keep punishing yourself. Mainstream Stoic principle number 2, Seneca once said, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." But tonight you realize the greatest adversity might not be what happened to you, but what you've refused to forgive within you. The old you stands, walks forward, hands you something small. It's a note. 3 words I tried sincerely. You want to speak, to apologize, to justify. But Sleipnir snorts once outside the door. And you understand this moment isn't for talking. It's for accepting. You nod to the version of you that stayed behind and step outside. The door closes behind you. You never hear it lock. You don't need to, because that part of you finally feels seen. Sleipnir stands calmly watching. You climb back onto his back. And when he starts walking again, the city begins to dissolve. Not disappear, just fade into the background like an emotion finally released. Fringe myth. Detail number 2. In one lesser-known Norse tale, Sleipnir is said to pause in places where truth still waits to be spoken aloud. Only when the writer listens, not with ears but with willingness, does he move again. You ride on. The bundle in your hands pulses again. Stronger, heavier. It knows what you just faced, and it's growing, not in size, but in urgency. Ahead, the world begins to shift. No longer a city, now a hallway, endless. Every few steps, a door, each labeled with a question. What if you'd stayed? What if they'd believed you? What if you'd left sooner? You feel Sleipnir begin to slow again. And you realize it's your turn to choose, to open one of these doors, to walk through what could have been and see whether it still owns you. You reach for the handle of one marked, "What if you'd spoken the truth that day?" Your fingers close. You take a breath, and you step inside. The door clicks softly behind you, the sound folding into the silence like a final period on a sentence you've spent years rewriting in your head. You're inside a memory now, but not a replay. It's more like a reconstruction built from feeling rather than fact. The colors are too vivid, the light too deliberate, and the silence too loud. It's a room you know, the room where you almost told the truth, where you almost said what mattered, where your hands clenched because your mouth wouldn't open and the moment slipped past like a train you were too scared to board. There's a chair in the middle of the room, facing another, empty, waiting. You sit. Across from you, no one. Not yet. Then slowly the other chair fills in, not like a ghost, not like a memory, like possibility made visible. The person sitting there isn't angry. They aren't confused. They're just available. They look at you and somehow you know they're ready to hear whatever you never said. But your throat tightens. Not out of fear, out of familiarity. How many times have you stood on this edge, talking yourself out of it? You inhale. This time your voice doesn't catch. You say it. All of it. What happened, what you meant, why you didn't speak when they needed you to, why you left when it looked like staying, why you stayed when it would have been kinder to leave. They listen, completely. No interruptions, no sighs, no sidelong glances. When you finish, there's no applause, no forgiveness, but something better. Understanding. They nod and vanish. Not in rejection, in completion. Mainstream Stoic insight number 3, Epictetus reminded us, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. But tonight you learn something deeper. Sometimes the hardest voice to listen to is your own when it finally stops lying. The room brightens, softly. A window appears where none existed before. Outside you see Sleipnir waiting patiently, but now he's looking up, towards something. You exit the room. The hallway is gone, replaced by a quiet grove, pale grass, white-barked trees. And in the center, a child. Sitting. Back turned to you. They hum softly to themselves, heads swaying to a tune only they remember. You approach. The child doesn't move. Until you kneel beside them. Then they turn, and it's you. A younger version. Before the guilt, before the silence, before the caution. They look at the package in your arms, the one Odin gave you. You realize it's grown heavier again. The child frowns. Then asks softly, "Why are you still holding it?" You don't know how to answer. You look down, the linen has frayed. There's something beneath it now, faintly glowing, trembling like a bird caught in a memory. The child touches it, and the glow pulses warmly. They smile. You could just let it be seen. You pause, then pull the linen away. Inside a small shard of something clear. Not glass, not crystal, just honesty given form. You'd been carrying the unspoken. Now here it is. Out in the open. The child you leans forward. While whispers now ride with both hands free. Fringe myth, detail number 3. One myth describes Sleipnir as refusing to gallop when a rider clutches too tightly to what they fear others will know. Some tales say Sleipnir can only reach the higher branches of Yggdrasil when the rider is no longer hiding anything from themselves. You rise. The child fades gently. Not abandoned, just integrated. Like a story finally rejoining its own ending. You return to Sleipnir. He bows slightly. A gesture of approval, of acceptance. You mount. For the first time, without the weight in your arms. The path ahead is a slope now narrow and rising, lined with low lanterns that pulse with quiet certainties. You ride You don't ask where it leads, you already know. Somewhere ahead, a conversation that hasn't happened yet. A letting go you've rehearsed too many times in silence. And just maybe a version of you that finally stopped apologizing for being unfinished. The path narrows. Lanterns float on either side of you, now suspended by nothing but memory. They sway not in wind, but in recognition, flickering gently as Sleipnir carries you past. Each one dims slightly as you pass by, as if whispering, "You've already survived this part." You don't ask what they are. You know. Each lantern is a moment you believed would break you, and didn't. The time you didn't get the apology you deserved. The day you thought being kind meant being weak. The night you stayed up talking yourself out of sending the message that might have changed everything. Sleipnir walks slowly, as if giving you space to feel each one. As if he knows that speed is for running away, and tonight you're staying in. You grip his mane not for balance, but as a tether. Something to remind you you're still here. That this isn't a story happening to someone else. The path curves gently, and suddenly you're no longer outside. You're inside a temple. It has no walls, only echoes. In the center, a pool of still water, black as ink, clear as air. You dismount, step toward it, your reflection stares back. But it's not just you. It's everyone you've tried to be. The performer, the protector, the peacekeeper, the one who smiled even when it didn't reach the eyes. They stand behind you like ghosts in the water, not accusing, just waiting. You sit, not on a bench, on acceptance. And for the first time, you speak out loud. I don't want to carry all of you anymore. The reflections don't flinch. They shimmer, then merge into one. And for a breathless moment, you feel whole. Mainstream Stoic teaching number 4, Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Tonight you see that clearly the versions of you born out of survival were never false. They were temporary, and it's okay to set them down now. Sleipnir approaches the pool and dips his nose into the water. The ripples spread outwards, circular, endless. And then a shape rises from the center. Not threatening, not divine, just inevitable. It's another version of you, but older, softer around the edges. This one doesn't carry swords made of sarcasm or shields made of silence. This one wears peace like armor. And they hand you something, a mirror. But this one doesn't reflect your face. It reflects your direction. You see yourself leaving something, someone, a place. But this time, not running away, choosing distance, choosing self-preservation, choosing clarity. You lower the mirror. The other you nods and fades. Fringe myth, detail number 4. A few poetic stanzas buried in the margins of the Prose Edda describe Sleipnir's breath as able to summon the writer's true name from deep within the wind. That name once heard cannot be forgotten, but it can be ignored at great cost. You mount Sleipnir once more. The temple unravels as you ride forward, each hoofbeat dissolving stone into starlight. The stars gather around you now, not as sky, but as story, your story. One you didn't think worth telling. But Sleipnir disagrees. He carries it without complaint. You pass through a tunnel of soft wind and suspended time and emerge onto a plain of ash and wind. In the center, a single stone. Odin sits on it, not as a god, but as a man with nothing left to prove. He doesn't smile. He nods. You dismount and hand him the mirror. He doesn't look into it. He breaks it and scatters the shards into the wind. You don't need this anymore, he says. You're already looking in the right direction. You ask, what was I really carrying? He stands, and for a moment he's not ancient. He's young and tired, like you. He says, I gave you weight so you could remember lightness. And then he vanishes. No thunder, no smoke, just gone. Only you. Sleipnir, and the wind. You look up. Yggdrasil looms in the distance now. Clear, close, alive. You mount and ride. And this time the journey feels like returning. The roots of Yggdrasil don't rise out of the ground. They descend from above, weaving through the air like slow lightning, thick with age and purpose. You ride beneath them as they move not away from you, but around you, as if the tree already knows you're coming and is clearing the way not out of kindness but out of recognition. Sleipnir's hooves strike the dirt with intention now, not as if pulling you forward but pulling you inward. The ash beneath you is soft but old. It carries the prints of gods, ghosts, and other riders who came before you chasing truths they weren't ready for. Some made it back, some didn't. You glance at the sky. There is no sky, only bark, twisting, infinite, alive. You reach the base of the tree. It's not grand, it's quiet. A low, slow breath turned vertical, rising through eternity. A figure waits beneath it. A woman. Eyes like dusk, hair like thread, skin the color of moon-washed stone. She says nothing, but you know her. She's not fate. She's not death. She's memory before it chooses which version of the past to keep. She gestures to a circle of stones. You dismount. Sleipnir stands back, watching, because what comes next you must do alone. You sit. The woman kneels across from you. Between you the shard, not the mirror. Something older. The bundle you carried from Odin now unwrapped. Clear. Solid. A shape that resembles truth but jagged, unfinished. She pushes it toward you. You touch it, and the world dissolves. Not into darkness, into you. You are standing inside your own memory. But this time it's complete. Not warped by guilt, not softened by time. It's the day you left. Left someone. Left yourself. Left behind a version of the world you couldn't carry anymore. They're there, the person who watched you go. But they aren't angry. They aren't crying. They're just waiting. And now so are you. You step toward them. You say the thing you never said. Whatever it was for you, I wasn't ready, or I needed to survive, or maybe just I see now. And they nod. Not because it's fixed, but because it's acknowledged. Mainstream Stoic principle number 5. Seneca said, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. But no one tells you how long it can take to reach that ending honestly, or how many versions of yourself you'll need to walk through to get there. You return to the grove. The woman is gone. The shard still sits before you. But now it's whole. Not flawless, but integrated. You pick it up and place it in your chest. Not literally, just where it was missing. Sleipnir bows his head as you return. This time he kneels. You mount. Not to escape, to ascend. Because now you are carrying not a burden, but yourself. Fringe myth. Insight number 5. A lost Icelandic tale suggests that Sleipnir's true gift isn't movement through realms, but movement through belief. That he cannot carry the same rider twice because the second time they are no longer who they were. You ride up the roots, into the branches, towards something not promised, not earned, just ready. And for the first time, you feel it. You are not running away. You are returning to the version of yourself that never stopped waiting beneath this tree. You lean forward and whisper to Sleipnir, take me to what comes after the truth. He gallops, and the bark beneath becomes sky again. The wind opens like a gate, and ahead a new world. Not perfect, not clean, but finally yours. The air changes, not colder, not warmer, just more aware. Like the sky itself is watching you now, not with judgment, but with that unnerving stillness parents have when they already know what you're going to confess. Sleipnir slows. His pace shifts from gallop to glide. You're no longer riding across bark or ash, you're floating through a canopy of possibilities. Every branch overhead is glowing faintly. You squint. Each one pulses in time with a choice you didn't make. Some of them still hum with warmth. Others flicker half extinguished like candles in a draft of doubt. You pass a branch that sings a tune only you recognize the job you turned down because you were afraid you weren't ready. Another hums with the face of someone who offered you kindness and you ghosted them out of fear they might actually like you. And then, there it is, the branch you don't want to look at. But Sleipnir stops. Because of course he does, this one's yours. The choice you still call a mistake. You stare at it. It's not just glowing, it's weeping. Tiny droplets of memory drip from its leaves and vanish before they hit the ground. You dismount, approach it, reach out, and your fingers brush something not physical but felt. You're inside the moment again. This one didn't break you. It changed you. A conversation. One where you said too much or too little, or just enough to shatter what little piece you'd built. It replays not in words but in emotions. You see yourself fumbling. You hear your own voice cracking at the wrong moment. You feel the weight in your chest when they looked at you like a stranger, even though they used to know your middle name by heart. You want to pull away. But Sleipnir breathes once soft and steady behind you. You stay. Mainstream Stoic principle number 6. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." But what he didn't mention, sometimes your reaction takes years to understand and longer to forgive. You place your palm flat against the branch. The memory freezes, then dissolves. Not because you fixed it, but because you felt it without flinching. That's all it needed. The branch dims, it doesn't vanish, it just rests. And you do too. For a moment, you turn back. Sleipnir waits, his eyes deeper than any sky. You mount again, and the tree begins to twist. You ride along a branch that curves downward, spiraling into a different kind of forest. Not made of wood, but of what-ifs. Each tree is hollow, each trunk bears a face. Faces of people who thought they were doing the right thing. People who chose comfort over courage. People who smiled through the apology they never meant. You hear voices. Soft, repeating, "I thought it was safer this way. I didn't want to hurt anyone. I didn't think it mattered." But the faces in the bark, they know better now. So do you. Because for the first time you realize you've been one of them too. You've chosen silence when you had truth. You've chosen distance when someone needed you present. You've chosen delay when action might have changed everything. Fringe myth detail number 6. A forgotten rune text says that Sleipnir once paused in a forest of faces where those who failed to speak truth became trees rooted in the lies they thought were harmless. It was a warning, not a curse. You eyed slowly. You whisper to the trees and they don't respond. But that's okay. You're not here for them. You're here for you. And up ahead, past the last trunk with the tired face, there is a gate. Not made of stone, not made of iron, but of words, floating, intersecting, trembling like breath. I forgive you. I understand now. I'm ready. You dismount, approach the gate. Sleipnir bows behind you, a guardian but not a guide. This part is yours to cross. You inhale and walk through the words. They don't pass around you, they pass through you. And when you step into the clearing beyond, the air smells different. Not of fire, not of bark, but of morning. You've entered a realm not of gods or ghosts, but of decisions waiting to be made. And the first one, what to do with the peace you're starting to feel. Peace is strange when you haven't worn it in a while. It fits loosely like a coat from someone else's closet. You tug at it instinctively, unsure whether you deserve it or whether it will hold under real weather. The clearing around you is open bright. Grass sways in rhythm with your breath, as if the world itself is syncing up to your nervous system. Sleipnir waits just beyond the threshold, patient as ever. But he doesn't move forward. He moves aside. In front of you now stands a simple wooden bench. And on it, someone you once tried to forget. They look just as they did the last time you saw them, unbothered, unhurried, unknowingly important. You don't speak. At first, you're not sure if they're real, or if they're a final illusion, conjured by a brain desperately filing old files before sleep. But they blink, breathe, and smile. Hey, they say, like nothing happened, like everything happened. You sit beside them, and there's a silence. Not awkward, but packed. You both know this silence. You helped build it one brick of avoidance at a time. You think about all the things you never said, all the honesty you thought would ruin everything, all the truths you buried in politeness and white lies and carefully timed, "I'm just tired" texts. Then you speak, and this time the words don't choke you. "I left because I didn't know how to stay." They nod, not in agreement, in recognition. "I wasn't who you needed." They shrug gently. "I didn't know what I needed either." And there it is, not resolution, not reconciliation, but something quieter, a mutual sigh. Mainstream Stoic teaching number 7. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." But even the emperor had moments when he realized sometimes others are just trying to survive too. You both sit in it. Not the past, not regret, but the strange middle space called acceptance. They look at you, say the last words you expected to hear. "Thank you." You blink. For what? For walking away before we ruined it. It's not sarcastic. It's freeing. You both stand. No hugs, no tears, just a nod. Two people on either side of a memory holding the rope gently and finally letting go. They walk back into the clearing and vanish. Not tragically, just correctly. Fringe myth. Detail number 7, some Norse variants of Sleipnir's story suggest he was once meant to carry broken love letters to hell, whispers of emotion never said aloud. But the myth ends with this. The words left unsent became winds that blew riders toward clarity. You return to Sleipnir, climb on, no urgency, no grand declaration, just continuation. The path now feels lighter. Not because it's shorter, but because you are. You ride through a tunnel of dusk colors shifting with your heartbeat. Each hue holds a flavor. Yellow tastes like a second chance. Deep blue smells like memory without bitterness. You pass a tree marked with a single rune, F. Fehu. Wealth not of coin, but of what you've let go. You smile. You didn't think letting go could make you rich. But here you are, further than you've ever been. Sleipnir slows again. This time it's not for a person, it's for a place, a house. Old, dusty, yours. You recognize the porch, the half-hinged gate, the plant you forgot to water 3 months before moving out. You dismount. The door creaks open as if it's been waiting for you. Inside silence. And in the silence, every version of you who ever tried to grow here. You walk the rooms, see the lines where pictures once hung, smell the soap you used when you still believed lavender could fix things. You enter the bedroom. There's a letter on the pillow, addressed to no one, written by you, a confession you never sent. You pick it up, read it, cry a little, not from sadness, from permission. You fold it and leave it there for the house to keep. Then you turn. Sleipnir's outside, waiting, as always. You mount. And for the first time, you don't look back, because for the first time, you don't need to. The wind shifts behind you now. You feel it as a push, not a pull. Like something once tangled is finally letting go, brushing your back with soft gratitude as it falls away into the past. You don't thank it. You don't need to. You've already mourned the parts of yourself that clung too tightly to unspoken apologies. Ahead, Sleipnir picks up pace. Not galloping, but purposeful, like he too has been waiting for you to cross this threshold, and now you're both ready. The path opens into a forest, but not the kind you've ridden through before. This one is not made of trees, it's made of questions. Tall, towering, rooted in doubt, and watered by fear. Each tree you pass hums faintly with inquiries that feel uncomfortably personal. Why didn't you say something sooner? What if you never feel that free again? Did they ever really understand you? You try not to look, but they bend toward you anyway. Because that's the thing about unasked questions, they want to be noticed. Sleipnir walks slower now, testing you. Are you ready to listen? You reach out and brush one of the leaves. It disintegrates into dust. Beneath it, another question carved in bark. Can you forgive what never apologized? You stop. Because that's not just a question, it's a challenge. You dismount, place a hand on the trunk, and you answer, not out loud but inwardly, like carving a message into your own ribs. Yes, but I will never forget. And the tree? It bows, just slightly. Mainstream Stoic principle number 8. Cleanthes once said, "He has the most who is most content with the least." Tonight you begin to understand contentment isn't a quiet life. It's a life unchained from expecting others to make peace for you. You move forward, the questions grow fewer. Not because they're gone, but because you've answered enough of them to know which ones no longer deserve your time. Sleipnir exhales softly, and for the first time you hear something in his breath. A word. Spoken without sound. Almost. You nod. Almost there. The forest thins, revealing a river. Not wide, but still. The kind of still that makes you feel like it's listening. You step down to the bank. Your reflection stares back, but it's not you anymore. Not entirely. There's a calm in the eyes, a clarity, the kind of gaze you once envied in others. Now it's yours. You kneel, cup the water. It's warm, forgiving. You splash your face not for cleansing, but for waking up. Because this is the moment you return to yourself. Behind you, a sound footsteps, but not human. Someone else rides into the clearing. Another figure. Riding something strange, not Sleipnir, but a different beast entirely. They dismount, remove their hood, and you see yourself. But from before the letting go, before the clarity. This version of you looks tired, defensive, burdened with all the truths you've now named and released. They stare at you, and you don't flinch. You walk up to them, look them in the eye, and say, "I carried us this far. You can rest now." They exhale, tears in their eyes. Not of grief, of relief. They hand you something small. It's the last doubt, the one you've been hiding even from yourself. You accept it, then toss it into the river. It doesn't splash, it dissolves. Fringe myth. Detail number 8. In a tale lost to translation, Sleipnir once carried a god through a valley where each rider had to meet a reflection of themselves that hadn't yet evolved. Only those who could release that reflection moved forward without pain. Your reflection in the water shifts, not just clearer, more whole. You return to Sleipnir, mount again. No baggage, no silence, no aching thoughts pretending to be protection, just presence. And ahead a hill, modest but unmistakably final. At the top, something waits, something that's not a test, but a choice. The hill isn't tall, but it feels like it's been waiting for centuries just for you. Each step Sleipnir takes now feels heavier, not because of burden, but because of significance. You're not rushing this climb. You're savoring it. There's a breeze up here. It doesn't cool you, it confirms you. Halfway up, you begin to hear something. Not music exactly, more like rhythm. Like the heartbeat of a place that's remembered you far longer than you've remembered it. You think of all the places you've chased closure, the conversations you rehearsed but never delivered, the roads you walked hoping to be found, and now you've found something more useful than being found. You found yourself while looking. You reach the summit, and waiting at the top is a circle of stones, each one carved with a different word. Begin, surrender, remain, break, stay, but one stone stands slightly apart. No word, just a mirror. smaller than the one Odin broke, like. You walk toward it, look in, you brace for something ancient, something painful, but you only see yourself. Not the past versions. Not the tired ghost of someone trying too hard to be good. Just you. With soft edges and sharper eyes. You touch the mirror, and it ripples, then shatters. But not violently, cleanly. The shards fall inward, revealing a staircase, not down, not up, through, and Sleipnir. He waits again, but not behind you, beside you. You both walk into the new path together. Mainstream Stoic principle number 9, Zeno. The founder of Stoicism once said, "Man conquers the world by conquering himself." But no one tells you that self-conquest doesn't look like victory. It looks like walking toward uncertainty with both hands open. The staircase leads into a room. Empty. Except for one thing. A table. On it, a book. The cover is blank. You open it. The pages are filled. With your handwriting, every choice, every deflection, every hard truth you buried beneath politeness or fear or practicality. But here, written plainly. And at the bottom of each page, a sentence. Simple italic. And they lived anyway. You close the book, place it back, and say, "That's enough." The door opens behind you. You walk through. Now the world is no longer mist and metaphor. It's a clearing one final tumult time. And in it, the people you loved, the ones who hurt you, the ones you disappointed, the ones you forgave without telling them. They don't speak. They just witness. And then they vanish. Like mist releasing into morning. You're alone again, but not lonely, because Sleipnir is still here, and now he kneels, not for rest, for farewell. You kneel beside him, whisper into his ear, "Thank you for not needing me to be ready." Fringe myth detail number 9. Some obscure writings claim Sleipnir doesn't choose his riders. They appear only to those who are already in motion, people who've begun the journey without even realizing it. He doesn't guide. He reflects. You step back. He fades. And all at once, so does the road, the clearing, the mountain. Until you're standing on the edge of something real. Not dream, not symbol. Just now. There's no destination left. Only tomorrow. And you're finally ready to walk into it without needing a reason to look back. Now it's just you. No Sleipnir, no myth, no echoes of God's whispering from roots older than memory. Just the ground beneath your feet, solid, earthen, undramatic. And you'd think that would feel like a letdown. It doesn't. It feels like a return. You breathe in. And the air doesn't taste like magic anymore. It tastes like morning, like coffee not yet brewed. Like unfinished laundry, like real life. And for once, you're not trying to escape it. You're walking toward it. With your eyes open, you cross a quiet field, no signposts, no glowing runes, just footprints in soft grass, some yours, some others. You remember that everyone's walking through something they'll never fully explain. You've become one of those people now. Not mysterious, just changed. You reach a stone wall. It's low, simple. You step over it, and on the other side, the life you left behind. Not literally, but the version you paused when the wait got too loud. There's your apartment, your inbox, your "we should catch up" texts, your half-used gym pass. It's all still there. But it no longer looks like a trap. It looks like a choice. And you finally feel like the one who gets to choose. Mainstream Stoic principle number 10. Musonius Rufus taught philosophy is not for display, it is to be used. And now you understand. All the thinking, the reflecting, the inner journeys, they mean nothing if you can't walk back into your world with both feet. You pass someone on the street. They're in a hurry, phone in hand, eyes full of the kind of stress that used to cling to you like wet fabric. You nod at them. They don't notice, but it doesn't matter. You weren't saying hello to them. You were saying hello to the version of you that used to move like that, blind, braced, always 10 seconds ahead and 5 hours behind. You reach a bus stop, the bench is empty, you sit. No reason, no destination, you just rest. And then the strangest thing happens. A child walks up, smiles, and asks, "Are you waiting for something?" You think about it and say, "No. I'm remembering how to sit still." Fringe myth. Detail number 10. One obscure oral tale tells of Sleipnir leaving a token behind, for each rider a mark invisible to the world but seen clearly in reflections and silence. A reminder that once written, you were never the same again. You feel for that token now, you can't see it. But it's there, in your decisions, in the pause before reacting, in the smile you give yourself when nobody's watching. You get up, not because you have to, because you want to. That's new. The city moves around you noisier than any god's whisper, messier than any cosmic symbol. And yet you carry the stillness inside. It walks beside you, not behind. You're not stoic because you feel nothing. You're stoic because you've learned to feel everything without running. You head home, unlock the door, step inside, and nothing's changed, except you. And that's enough. The kettle whistles, you pour the water, let it steep. Then, without ceremony, without insight, without cosmic foreshadowing, you sit down and drink your tea. Not because it's meaningful, but because it is. You place the empty cup in the sink. Not because it's symbolic, because that's where it belongs. For the first time in what feels like lifetimes, you're not searching for meaning in everything. You're letting things be what they are. A chair is a chair, a crack in the wall is just that, and you're finally someone who can stand inside silence and not mistake it for something missing. But then something unexpected happens. A letter. On the floor. No stamp. No return address. Just folded paper resting where your boots should be. You pick it up, unfold it. Inside, written in small handwriting, "You weren't wrong for protecting yourself." That's it. No name, no signature. Just the one sentence you've been needing to hear, maybe even needing to say to yourself for years. Sleipnir didn't leave you a token, he left you this. Or maybe you wrote it yourself in some forgotten part of the journey. It doesn't matter, it's true, and that's all it needs to be. Mainstream Stoic principle number 11. Epictetus taught that freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. Today, you see that freedom not as an escape, but as non-attachment to the old stories you kept retelling to yourself in the dark. You tack the letter to your fridge with a magnet shaped like a strawberry. Not because that's poetic, because that's what was already there. The ordinary becomes holy when it's no longer hiding behind the extraordinary. You go to your closet, pull out the coat you wore during a version of your life that no longer fits. You hold it up. Try it on. It still fits physically, but it itches. It pinches at the shoulders. It's the armor of someone who needed to be ready all the time. You take it off, hang it up again, not out of nostalgia, out of respect. You don't throw away your old selves. You just stop living inside them. You head to the window. Watch people passing on the street. Every face holds a story. Some just beginning. Some pretending to be over, and you realize no one looks like they've ridden an 8-legged horse through a mythical tree. And yet, you'd bet they all have. In their own way. Fringe myth detail number 11. There's an old tale that Sleipnir's riders forget most of the journey, but never the feeling of having survived it. It shows up in small ways, in the way they say "I'm okay" and mean it, or the way they stop apologizing for taking up space. You sit on your bed, not to sleep, just to feel the weight of gravity without sadness. You lie back, look up at the ceiling. A crack runs across it like a sentence that trailed off. You whisper, "I'll finish that later," and smile, because even incompleteness no longer bothers you. You are not a riddle that needs solving. You are not a project that needs finishing. You're a presence, capable of pausing, capable of kindness, capable of standing still without turning to stone. You close your eyes, and for the first time in a long while, you're not escaping anything. You're just here, now, and it's enough. You sleep, but not like before. Not the restless kind of sleep that comes from exhaustion and dread and looping thoughts pretending to be dreams. No, this sleep is clean, like diving into still water without splash or consequence. You don't toss, you don't turn, you release. And somewhere deep in that stillness, you feel something stir, not in your body, not even in your mind, but in whatever part of you lives between those two. You're dreaming again. But it's not a dream. It's a visit. A corridor stretches ahead, dimly lit, pulsing softly with the rhythm of your breath. You walk it, barefoot, unburdened. Each step echoes, but instead of sound, the echoes return as questions you never asked. What if I hadn't walked away? What if I said what I actually felt? What if I never heal completely and that's okay? You don't answer. You don't need to, because these aren't tests anymore. They're souvenirs. Evidence that you made it this far without needing every mystery solved. At the end of the corridor, there's a room. Circular, blank. Except for one object in the center, a key. You don't ask what it unlocks, you just take it. And as you do, the walls begin to shimmer. Not melt, not collapse, just shimmer. Like reality itself is adjusting its lens to focus on you again. And you wake. Not startled, not gasping, just aware. The morning light spills lazily across your floor. You sit up, stretch. Not because your body aches, but because it doesn't. That in itself feels like a miracle. Mainstream Stoic teaching number 12. Seneca believed, the part of life we really live is small, for all the rest of existence is not life, but merely time. This morning you feel the difference. You're no longer merely in time. You are inhabiting it. You rise, walk to the kitchen, make coffee with steady hands, not rushed, not distracted, fully present in the ritual of it. You take the first sip and it tastes like now. Fringe myth. Detail number 12. A whispered line from an Icelandic fireside myth says Sleipnir never truly leaves a rider. Instead, he becomes part of their gait, the subtle way they move through life, slightly offbeat, as if always half-stepping through other worlds. You open your door, step out into the world, and know the trees don't bow. The sky doesn't shimmer, no one whispers. There they go, the one who faced it all. But you carry the quiet clarity of someone who met themselves in the dark and didn't flinch. And that's enough. You walk to work, or to nowhere, or maybe just to the cafe down the block. The barista asks how you're doing. And for the first time in years, you answer, good. Like, actually good. They nod, they don't get it, they don't have to. You sit with your cup by the window. People pass. You see someone who reminds you of who you were before. You wish them well silently, honestly. And in your pocket, the key. Still warm, still waiting. Not for doors, not for vaults, but for you. Because you know soon, there's one more room left to unlock. And this time you won't hesitate. You don't rush to use the key. It stays in your pocket for days, maybe weeks. Sometimes you forget it's there. Other times your fingers find it absent-mindedly, like a coin or a smooth stone you can't quite let go of. You live. Really live. Not the grand cinematic kind of living, just the honest kind. You laugh at a joke that no one else hears. You delete a message you know doesn't need sending. You sit through a moment of discomfort without needing to fix it or flee from it or explain it. And in these quiet, invisible wins, something becomes clearer. The Stoics weren't talking about perfection. They were talking about permission. To feel what you feel. To drop what doesn't serve. To stay when it matters and walk away when it matters more. One morning you wake up before the alarm. No reason, just ready. You dress simply, not to impress, to move freely. You slip the key into your hand, no hesitation this time, and you know where to go. Not by map, not by logic, by pulls. Mainstream Stoic principle number 13, Cleanthes taught that we should follow nature not in the sense of hugging trees, but by aligning ourselves with what is not what we wish were true. Today, your instincts are more trustworthy than your fears. You walk across the city, but it's not the city, it's a memory, not one you've had, one you've inherited. Streets blur and shift as if made of thought. Shadows lengthen and retract depending on your doubts. At the edge of it all, a doorway, ordinary, wood, paint chipped, a handle worn smooth by years of reaching. You put the key in. It turns with a soft click, the kind of sound your soul recognizes before your ears do. Inside a room. Familiar? Not because you've been here, because you've imagined it. It's the room you would have built had you not been so afraid to want something real. Fringe myth, detail number 13. One forgotten verse of a skaldic poem claims that the eighth leg of Sleipnir is metaphorical, a symbol for the unseen journey each rider takes inward, the one that can only be completed once the external ride is done. There's a table, on it 3 things. A letter from someone who once broke your heart. A mirror small and unassuming. A door that leads somewhere you can't predict. You read the letter. It doesn't sting anymore. You smile once, not from superiority, but from softness. You place the letter down, turn to the mirror. This time you see not your face, you see your posture, the way you carry yourself. There's a lightness now, a quiet in your shoulders that used to feel like armor. You nod, not at yourself, at your journey. Then the door. You don't knock, you don't wait. You walk through and find a garden, overgrown, wild, radiant with imperfection. Everything here grows sideways, but everything grows. You kneel at a patch of earth and plant nothing. You just run your hands through the soil like you're saying, I remember what it's like to care again. Sleipnir isn't here. The gods aren't watching. You're alone, and finally okay with it. You stay in the garden for a while. There's no reason to leave. Time doesn't press against you like it used to. It sits gently at the edge of your awareness, more suggestion than force. You breathe and the air tastes like moss and citrus, and something older like the underside of a stone you haven't turned over in years. You lie down, let the overgrowth curl around your ankles, and for a moment you become a part of the place. Not a visitor, not a thinker, just another living thing in a world that doesn't need you to prove anything. You close your eyes. And in the stillness, something arrives not with sound, but sensation. A memory, but not yours. Someone else's. You feel the fear of a stranger saying goodbye too late. You feel the thrill of another stepping away from something safe and choosing something uncertain. You feel the ache of a goodbye that never came. And all of it feels familiar. Because even if they weren't your moments, you've worn those shapes before. You sit up. There's a small wooden box near the base of a willow tree. You don't remember it being there. Inside folded notes, hundreds. Each one a version of the same question. Was I wrong to let go? You don't read them all. You don't need to. You take one. Write your own answer beneath it, not if it saved you. Then you close the box. Mainstream Stoic principle number 14. Seneca reminded us that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. And now, sitting under this crooked tree, you understand. The stories you told yourself in fear were just that stories. And they don't get the final word anymore. You stand. Brush the dirt from your hands. The garden feels quieter now. Not empty, resolved. And there in the distance, something glints. You walk toward it. It's a stone arch covered in vines. The shape of a doorway, but no door, just space. And beyond it, a shoreline. You hear waves, soft, rhythmic, like breathing. You step through the arch, your feet hit sand. Warm, unfamiliar. A boat waits, bobbing gently at the dock. No one's in it. No destination carved into its hull, just oars, and a place to sit. You turn back. The arch is still there, the garden just visible through its tangle of green. You could stay, but you don't need to. This isn't a place you live in. It's a place you grew through. Fringe myth. Detail number 14. In one rare version of Sleipnir's tale, the horse does not return to Odin after his final ride. Instead, he carries the rider to the shore of a forgotten island and bows his final act, a gesture of pure trust, before fading into mist and becoming wind. You step into the boat, take the oars, row. The water receives you without question. Your reflection ripples not with distortion, but with permission. You don't look back, because nothing is chasing you, only calling you forward. And on the other side, not answers, not perfection, but a life you can finally call yours. You row slowly, not because the water resists you, because you're not in a hurry anymore. Each stroke is deliberate, measured. The oars barely splash, just a soft whisper of movement like a secret between you and the lake. The horizon doesn't move, but the sky shifts, from morning blush to something cooler, more reflective, as if the sun too is thinking back on things. And somewhere in that quiet stretch of distance, you realize you're not trying to arrive. You're just trying to continue. Mainstream Stoic principle number 15. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, don't seek for things to happen as you wish, but wish for them to happen as they do, and your life will flow well. And now the flow of the lake feels like a perfect echo of that uncurated but deeply aligned. You let the oars rest, and for a while the boat drifts. You close your eyes, let your mind wander, not in the frenetic, anxious way it used to, chasing possibilities like a dog after its own tail. Now it wanders like a walk through a quiet museum. You revisit moments, not to fix them, to observe them differently. You see the argument that ended something important not as failure but as proof you tried. You remember the letter you never sent, not as cowardice but as self-preservation. You even think of the people who disappeared without explanation, and you no longer call them villains. They were just exits. And you kept walking. The boat bumps gently into something solid. A dock, but not like the first one. This one is older, weathered. You tie off, step out. The wood creaks under your feet and it doesn't apologize for it. You admire that. The land you step onto is different from anything you've known. It's not lush, not bleak, just real. Worn with patches of unexpected beauty like wildflowers growing in places no one thought to tend. You walk inland. No map, no plan, just presence. And then you see it. A small circle of chairs, empty. Each one different, some simple, some ornate, one clearly missing a leg and leaning slightly. It's not a ceremony. It's a welcome. You sit. And slowly figures appear. Not ghosts, not gods, just versions. Of you, a child holding a broken toy but refusing to cry. A teenager mouthing truths they weren't allowed to speak. An adult pretending to be smaller just to survive the room. They don't ask for anything, they just join you. And for the first time, every version of you sits together. No one is exiled. No one is told not yet. You're whole. Fringe myth, detail number 15. An obscure saga speaks of a place called the Isle of Echoes, where warriors once came not to fight, but to face themselves. Each version of their soul was said to take a seat in a circle, and only when the circle was full could they leave the island changed. You sit in the silence. A breeze moves through the clearing. None of the versions vanish. They don't need to. You all belong here. You all survived. One of them, the you that learned to stay quiet to avoid conflict, reaches over, takes your hand, doesn't say a word, but the message lands anyway. You did what you had to, and we're still here. You don't cry, you just breathe, deep, steady, complete. The versions of you don't fade, they don't vanish in a puff of smoke or ascend into mist with dramatic music. They just linger, like old friends who don't need to say goodbye because there's nothing left to prove. And you don't feel haunted, you feel inhabited, whole. For once, the echoes don't ask for more time. They don't pull at your sleeve or whisper regrets. They sit in the circle like truths that have stopped needing to be justified. You rise. The chairs remain. Let them. You walk back to the shoreline. The boat is still there, but it's smaller now. Lighter. As if it too has released something. You don't step in yet. Not because you're not ready, because you want to look. One last time. At this place. Not to lock it in memory, but to say thank you. Mainstream Stoic principle number 16 Epictetus said, "He who is not happy with what he has will not be happy with what he wants." And here at the edge of a shore that asked nothing of you, you realize happiness isn't a pursuit. It's permission. You give it to yourself. The boat rocks gently waiting. You step in. This time you don't row. You don't need to. The water moves for you. Like it's learned your rhythm. Like it trusts you now. In the distance, land emerges. Different from the last. Less mythic, more mundane. You recognize buildings. A skyline that once felt too sharp for your softness. A place where bills pile up and people cancel plans and coffee goes cold while you're stuck in traffic. And you smile. Because you're not afraid of it anymore. You've seen what's under it. You've seen yourself outside of it. And that means you can live inside it without vanishing. Fringe myth. Detail number 16, a lesser-known Norse proverb says, "The final form of the warrior is not fury but calm." Some interpret this as Odin's own reflection once all battles are fought. He walks barefoot through Midgard unseen, remembered only by those who can sit in silence. You arrive at the dock. Step out. Your legs are steady. Your breath is full. You don't check your phone. You don't rehearse tomorrow. You just start walking. The city greets you not like a hero, but like a familiar hallway. A place you know how to move through. You pass people. Their stories sit behind their eyes, but you no longer absorb them like a sponge. You observe. You honor. And you remain separate. Not distant. Just whole. The you who walks now is not waiting to be fixed. You are not a collection of loose threads. You are woven. You are weathered. You are well. At a corner cafe, you stop. Order something you haven't had in years. Not because it's nostalgic, because it sounds good. The barista smiles like they know you've come back from somewhere far. They don't ask. You nod. They nod. And that's enough. You sit outside, sip your drink. Let the sunlight find your face. It does, without apology, without filter. And for the first time in a long, long time, you let it. The sunlight is ordinary. No divine glow, no secret signal from the heavens, just warmth. And still it feels like a kind of miracle, because you're no longer demanding that every moment deliver more than what it is. You're not holding each hour hostage to your expectations. You're not mining the world for signs that you're on the right path. You're just here. Coffee cooling, traffic humming in the distance, a breeze nudging the pages of a notebook you didn't know you'd brought. You flip it open. There are no words inside, not yet. But your hand moves anyway. You start to write. Not for an audience, not for clarity, just to hear yourself think in ink. And what comes out, nothing earth-shattering. Just this. I'm not perfect, but I'm present. And that finally feels like enough. Mainstream Stoic principle number 17, Marcus Aurelius reminded himself in Meditations that you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. Today, that phrase doesn't feel grim, it feels freeing. Not a warning. A permission slip to show up. You sit with the thought. Then you close the notebook. Let the words be. You don't reread them 10 times looking for flaws. You let them rest. You stretch, stand, and decide to walk without destination. The city breathes with you, not against you, not ahead of you, with you. You notice details you'd normally miss: a leaf stuck in the grill of a stranger's car, a pigeon dragging a French fry longer than its own body, a child laughing not because anything was funny, but because they exist, and the world hasn't taught them otherwise yet. You walk past a storefront. A mirror in the window catches you. You glance, and this time you don't adjust your posture. You don't suck in your stomach or practice the face you'd rather wear. You just see yourself. And nod. The reflection doesn't blink, but if it did, it would wink. Fringe myth detail number 17. In a Scandinavian fragment carved on bone, it said Sleipnir sometimes took the form of a mirror after the final ride, not to show vanity, but to offer the rider a chance to meet the version of themselves that came back. You smile, not because life is suddenly easier, but because you are. A thought floats up gently like a bubble in a still lake. You could start over today. You could pivot. You could rest. You could build. You could forgive someone who won't ever know it. You could finally tell that story that scares you. You could go home early and not explain yourself. You could be both a mystery and a map. And you realize you're not stuck in your story. You're holding the pen. The key. It's still in your pocket. Cool now. Quiet. You run your thumb across its surface. It doesn't buzz with magic anymore. It doesn't need to. It was never about unlocking places. It was about unlocking possibility. And now that door. It's already open. You walk a little further. The sun shifts. A shadow passes gently over you, maybe a cloud, maybe something more. But you don't look up. You don't need to. Because whatever it is, you're already walking with it. The street begins to slope downward, barely noticeable at first, but it changes your stride, loosens your spine. You lean into it without meaning to. Funny how momentum feels more like invitation than effort now. You pass a bookstore. The sign above it is worn letters, faded, but inside it glows. You don't plan to go in, but your feet pause. Not to buy something, just to breathe among stories. You push the door open. A bell rings, a sound too small to carry meaning, and yet here it feels like the start of a new chapter. You step inside, and everything softens. The light, the air, you. The shelves are crooked, overflowing. Some books lean against each other like tired friends. Others lie open, spine up, exhausted from being understood. You trail a hand across their backs and feel it, that hum. Not of magic, of presence. You're surrounded by 1,000 voices, and for once, none of them are screaming. You don't pick up a book. You sit on the floor, let the space hold you. Mainstream Stoic principle number 18. Seneca once wrote, "No man was ever wise by chance." But wisdom doesn't always arrive in thunderclaps. Sometimes it comes in the quiet decision to pause even when the world says go. You lean back against a shelf. Feel its solid warmth. The store cat appears. Because of course, there's a store cat. It eyes you like you might be trustworthy, then decides you're not important enough to fear, which is its own kind of compliment. It curls up nearby, purring like it invented the concept. You sit there longer than expected. No one rushes you. No one asks. Finding everything okay, you are. You really are. Eventually you rise. Not because you're done, because you're full. At the register, you leave a small bill in the tip jar. Not for the transaction, for the sanctuary. Fringe myth detail number 18. One Icelandic scrap of legend says that after Sleipnir carried his final rider to peace, his breath became a wind that moved through forgotten spaces, bookshops, garden sheds, hospital hallways where the weary come not to be fixed, but to be witnessed. You step outside. The air feels cooler now, more textured, like it's noticed you've changed. You take the long way home. Not because you need to, because you want the walking, the slow rhythm of your steps against pavement, the half hum of a song you're not quite remembering. You stop at a crosswalk. Wait, even though there's no car, because you're allowed to. You're no longer proving you're fast or brave or efficient. You're proving you're here, At your door, you don't sigh before entering. You don't brace. You just go in, and everything's as you left it. But somehow, you're not returning to your life. You're rejoining it. The difference is small. And everything. You light a candle, not for mood, for ritual. You watch it flicker. The wax begin to melt. And you say out loud, this time I can stay. Not as in not leave, as in exist fully without apology. The flame dances. Not because of when there is none, because it wants to. And you understand that now. Some things don't need a reason to move, to glow, to be alive in their own quiet way. You sit near it. Let your breathing fall in step with the flicker. No agenda, no performance, just presence. And in this stillness, something long awaited arrives. Not a person, not a voice, not even a thought. A knowing that everything hard you walked through didn't shape you by accident. It didn't break you into something smaller, it broke you open. Mainstream Stoic principle number 19. Zeno taught that hardship is not an obstacle to our path, but part of the path. Tonight you feel it in your bones, every wrong turn, every goodbye, every silence that once threatened to unmake you. They were steps. You lean back. The room feels bigger than it is. Maybe you've grown. Maybe you've just stopped curling inward. The candle sputters. You smile. Let it go out on its own. You don't rush the ending anymore. You walk to the window. The city is asleep, but not dead. Even in its slumber, it pulses. Somewhere, someone is learning to be okay. Someone else is remembering how to want again. And maybe, just maybe, someone's whispering their first real apology to themselves. Fringe myth detail number 19. There's an old Norse belief, mostly forgotten, that gods could only hear the prayers whispered when no one else was listening, not to test us, but to protect what's genuine. Not all power is loud. You whisper too. Not a request, a gratitude. I didn't turn to stone after all. You turn out the lights. Lie down. Not like a collapse, like a decision. And the bed, though unchanged, welcomes you differently now, because it senses the shift. You used to sleep to escape. Now you sleep to restore. There is no Sleipnir galloping through your dreams tonight. No riddles to solve, no mirrored selves to embrace. Just breath. Soft, even. Yours. The key is still beside you on the nightstand, but it's cool now. Silent. Its job is done. You don't need it tomorrow. You won't forget what it taught you, but you'll carry it inward, not outward. Like a compass that no longer points north, but points home. Tomorrow, the world might be noisy again. It might ask more than it gives. You might forget yourself for a moment. You might get scared, or small, or tired, but that's okay, because you'll remember how to return. Here, to the you that knows how to stop, to breathe, to walk away from a closed door without needing to knock one more time. You'll remember that not all goodbyes are loud. Some just feel like peace. You'll remember that it's not your job to convince the world of your worth, only your own heart. And you'll remember this truth. You've already survived the hardest parts, and what comes next is yours. Fully, finally, freely. Morning arrives gently. No trumpets, no cinematic crescendo, just light. Soft and gold slipping past the curtain like an old friend who doesn't knock anymore. You wake. But this time it's not the alarm that stirs you, it's enoughness. The sense that waking up isn't something that happens to you, it's something you choose. You sit up. Your body feels like yours again. Not something to fix, not something to hide, just a place you live and love. You stretch, not to perform, to participate. The floor is cool, the air is fresh, and somewhere in another room the candle stands quiet. Burnt down but not out. You leave it as it is. A finished sentence. You make tea. Not coffee today. Tea suits the morning's slowness. You hold the mug in both hands. The warmth doesn't rush you, it holds you. Mainstream Stoic principle number 20. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid, said Epictetus. And today you welcome the misunderstanding. You no longer need to explain your softness, your slowness, your way of being. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. You sit by the window again, not to reflect, just to be. Cars pass. A bird sings and forgets the next note. Someone across the street drops their keys, curses softly, and then laughs. The world continues. But you're not chasing it anymore. You're in rhythm with it. There's still pain out there, still mess, still chaos, but you've learned something that not even Sleipnir could carry for you. You don't fix the world by being unbreakable. You heal it quietly by being fully here. Fringe myth, detail number 20. Some say Sleipnir's final ride wasn't to battle. It was to the home of an old woman who had no more dreams left. He stayed with her not as a steed, but as a shadow beside her chair until she remembered how to hope again. You finish your tea. You stand, dress simply, not to shrink or vanish or blend, but to move freely. You walk out your door, not into a new chapter, into the same life, but as a new you. And the beauty no one else may notice. They won't stop and gasp or tell you how much you've changed. They're not supposed to. You know, that's what matters. The city hums its usual tune, but you walk through it like a melody that finally found its key. There is no music, no applause, just the quiet clarity of a life reclaimed. A voice inside that finally says, let's begin. And now, as the light fades behind your eyes, let the rest of the world slow with you. There's nothing left to chase tonight. You've gone far farther than most into the fog, through the roots, past the mirrors and myths and the half-spoken memories that tried to hold you back. You faced them. You walked anyway. You returned. And now it's time to soften. Feel your breath, how it deepens effortlessly, like your body has been waiting for permission to rest. Your shoulders sink. Your thoughts no longer chase each other, they drift. And whatever remains undone, unsaid, unfinished, it can wait. Tonight, nothing asks anything of you. No gods, no horse, no old version tapping at the window. You are whole, you are home, you are free. Let sleep come not as an escape, but as an offering. A quiet place where your body mends your spirit, exhales, and your mind wanders gently through softer fields. Whatever waits tomorrow will wait gently. You've done enough. You've become enough. And now in the stillness, you are allowed to disappear into peace. Good night. End of script. Sweet dreams.